So given how many people enjoyed the last Hunger Games video, I decided that I should probably watch the rest of the movies and give my 2 cents on them. Catching Fire was always my favorite book out of the three growing up, so I had high expectations for the movie. In the book, Katniss is engaging in a mind game with President Snow while being manipulated by the people around her. The book is thrilling from cover to cover, and you truly have no idea where it's going. With that kind of bar being set, let's see how the movie measures up and if it stands on its own. We start out with Katniss in the woods looking distraught. Gale comes up and after a quick conversation the two go on a hunt. Once Katniss shoots a bird, she has a flashback to the arena and has a panic attack. This type of thing is great. Katniss is still a teenager and she killed on instinct when she was in the arena, but once she came home, the things that she did stayed with her. Her trauma from the arena is a big factor in the books going forward, so it was important that the movie included it. When Katniss and Gale get back to the district, Gale randomly kisses her. This is as good as a time as any to talk about the love triangle. Gale is very annoying in this movie, especially with how he never shows any feelings towards Katniss until after the arena. Him not realizing what he had until it was gone is fine, but giving Katniss a hard time about Peeta is very stupid. That's all I care to say about the love triangle. When Katniss gets home, President Snow is waiting for her. He wants to let her know that her Nightlock scheme made a lot of people think that they could fight against the Capitol, which isn't quite true because District 11 started rioting after Rue's death. In the book, we learn that rebellion was inevitable and that Snow just wanted to distract Katniss, but we don't get any info like that in the movie. For all we know, Snow just ignored all the unrest in the districts until the end of the games because he was distracted by them, which is a viable excuse, but it would be writing the script for the writers, and I don't want to do that. Snow threatens her, then tells her to convince the people of Panem that she's insanely in love, and shows her a video of Gale kissing her. The book does this a little bit differently, having him say that he knows about the kiss, and I'm not sure which one I like more. Having the kiss happen a few weeks prior out in the woods, and Snow implying that he can see her even in a place that she thought was safe from the Capitol for years, is pretty fear-inducing for Katniss, and it shows her just how far-reaching Snow is. Having the kiss happen a few minutes before the two talk, and Snow having the video that quickly and letting it play as he leaves pretty much has the same effect, letting the video speak for itself. Either one is great and both are masterful introductions for Snow. He is the main villain of the next 3 movies, so establishing him as a force is very important for the stakes of this story. The scene makes me feel like Katniss is talking to a future version of Tywin Lannister, and the movie is made so much better for having someone with that level of presence. Peeta and Katniss meet up again, and it was revealed that Peeta knows Katniss was acting in the arena. Now if you watched my last video on the Hunger Games, you would know that I said I wanted to see how they would react to that reveal, and they just did it off screen. I really wanted to see how Peeta in particular would handle the reveal, and they just do it off screen. I do like how Peeta and Katniss act like they care about each other more and more on camera, and as the movie goes on, they warm up to each other more and more. Speaking of them acting, they go on their victory tour, and in District 11, the two give heartfelt speeches that make one of the men in the crowd show a sign of respect. The peacekeepers go into the crowd, drag the man to the front, and execute him as they drag Katniss away. The way that they frame the shot, only showing the gun so that the movie can keep its PG-13 rating, is pretty genius in my eyes. The horror of what's happening is right in front of us, but the full gory reality is hidden. After the peacekeepers kill the man, the people of District 11 start to riot. Because of these riots, Katniss and Peeta are forced into reading speeches directly from cue cards and are forbidden from saying their true feelings. The two realize that they will never be able to move on from the star-crossed lovers storyline, so they decide to have Peeta propose in the Capitol. They get to the president's mansion to end the tour, and they get to see the depths of how out of touch the Capitol really is. This is shown through how they will eat until they are full, then drink this pink liquid to throw it up again, then eat more food. Now in the book, we get a somewhat funny moment where they stop him from drinking it and tell him to go drink it in the bathroom. Here, the guy just starts drinking it in the middle of the dance floor. It's a small thing, but it lets you know how fast the drink works and how commonplace it is. Peeta calls out how bad it is to let the people in District 12 starve, and the book shows Katniss helping Gale's family at least, but in the movie, she only helps out her family. Now I can understand looking out for you and yours, but Gale is like family to Katniss. Letting him work his fingers to the bone in the coal mines when she herself says she has more money than she knows what to do with makes little sense. Plutarch Heavensbee, the new game maker who took over for Seneca Crane, comes over to dance with Katniss. In the book, Plutarch shows off his watch, which has a Mockingjay etched into it. Some think that this is meant to be a clue to Katniss that the arena was a clock, and this is a very dumb clue. Katniss would probably have not put two and two together, so keeping this out of the movie is fine in my view. Plutarch has a sit down with Snow on how to deal with Katniss, and this is a little odd to me. Does Snow not have advisors to deal strategy with? Why is he discussing how he can quell unrest in the country with the guy who is basically in charge of the Super Bowl? Plutarch suggests making the living conditions worse for the people of District 12, which Snow has to know will only make the people want to rebel more. I know why Plutarch wants this, but Snow wants to avoid a rebellion at all costs. These cutaways from Katniss normally add to the world building of the films, but this one is just confusing. Due to the crackdowns, Gale gets whipped for trying to save an old woman. The Peacekeepers burn the Hob down, but because the place is never named, and we don't get to see how important the place is to the people of the districts, this moment is not nearly as impactful as it could have been. The announcement for the Quarter Quell airs, and Katniss realizes she's going back into the arena. Katniss then goes to Haymitch to make a deal, saying that she wants to keep Peeta alive. Haymitch tells her that Peeta was there 6 hours before her, and says my favorite line of the movie.
You could live 100 lifetimes and never deserve that boy.
I honestly do think that's true. Peeta has been willing to do anything for her for a long time now, and he always does as much as he can whenever he can for her. Haymitch agrees to go in the arena if Peeta is picked, but Snow would never allow that. The lover storyline is too appealing to pass up. I think both envelopes had Haymitch's name on them, because Snow knew Peeta would volunteer. This is a win-win for Snow. Either Peeta goes in with Katniss and you kill two birds with one stone, or Peeta doesn't volunteer and he loses a lot of credibility with the people of Panem and can't be used by the rebellion. This time in the capital is a lot different from the first movie, with a lot more focus on strategy going into the games. We already established the capital in the last movie, so now we can focus on the characters. The three standouts being Finnick, Johanna, and BT. BT stands out because I've seen his actor as a serious guy, and he played Commissioner Gordon so well, I can't see him as a socially inept nerd. He had a good performance, but I keep seeing Gordon. Johanna stands out due to her in-your-face nature. She doesn't seem to care very much about anything other than herself, and she isn't afraid to let people know. Finnick seems to be holding something back, and he takes an odd interest in Katniss. Katniss takes a liking to some of the weaker victors, but gets tons of ally offers after showing how well she can shoot. I know that some people have called Katniss a Mary Sue, but I don't agree with that label. Her talent makes sense and comes from years of shooting for her food. She had to be that good or she wouldn't eat. She still has things to learn and isn't liked by everyone around her. Most of the people around her dislike her, or at the very least talk to her with disdain. She may be powerful, but that power makes sense and it always works because of that. After a ceremony showing off all the victors, the games finally begin. Katniss and Cinna walk out to a really bad green screen, and this is the worst shot of the movie by far. They managed to improve the fire from last time, but they just had to have a bad shot, I guess. The rest of the CGI in the movie looks great, so this shot that looks like it's straight out of an 80s sci-fi movie sticks out like a sore thumb. Cinna gets beaten and carried off by peacekeepers, which is a great move on Snow's part. Throw Katniss off her game and maybe she gets killed in the opening fray. Katniss coming up into the arena is a beautiful shot as we switch from widescreen to full screen. The colors become 10 times more vibrant and you get the feeling of coming out from being underwater for a while. The camera spins around Katniss, letting us know just how scared and confused she truly is. After the opening fray, Katniss, Peeta, Finnick, and an older woman named Mags are all together walking through the woods. Katniss sees that Peeta is about to walk into a force field and tries to warn him, but she's too late. Peeta's heart stops and Katniss tries to wake him up by asking him nicely. Finnick comes in and pushes her away. He does CPR and manages to revive Peeta. In the book, Katniss gets asked how she knows that there was a force field, and given how Haymitch had his family killed for using the force field to his advantage, she claims that the ear that she had gotten fixed after her last time in the arena could hear them, instead of admitting that she was taught by BT on how to see them. Here, because we didn't get Haymitch's games, Katniss doesn't have that fear, so the writers don't have anyone question why she was trying to warn Peeta. It's still a great moment for showing how attached Katniss is starting to be towards Peeta, but a layer of depth is removed. After dealing with toxic fog, apes, and a small tsunami, finds out that their arena is a clock. The group of victors head to the cornucopia and Wiress sings as the group looks for supplies. Wiress stops when she gets stabbed, and this was handled way better in the book. In the book, Katniss explains how canaries in the coal mines sing to let the miners know that the air is safe, and when they stop, the miners have to leave because the air has become toxic. Katniss gets preoccupied with her conversation, then suddenly realizes that Wiress isn't singing anymore. Here, Wiress gives a sharp gasp, and if you haven't read the books, I'm sure you were surprised by this death. I didn't quite resonate with the way it was handled, but I understand why someone would. Plutarch then spins the cornucopia and says,
"Let's see how they tell time now."
Why would this change anything? All of the zones operate the same way at the same time. Nothing changes except the position of the cornucopia. Even if it did, Plutarch wants to help Katniss as much as possible, so why even do this? Maybe it was meant to throw Snow off of his scent without really hurting Katniss, but the movie could have made that a little bit more clear. BT makes a plan to fry the ocean and take out any enemies in that area. From this point on, you can tell that things are really ramping up and that the end of the games is coming. Katniss and Peeta let themselves get split up for no reason other than having to be separate so they can get reunited later on. The movie does give credence to how big of a moment this is for the both of them, lingering just long enough to let you feel the gravity of what's going on. Johanna knocks Katniss down, cuts out her tracker, and runs off. Katniss goes to find Peeta, but he isn't there. Finnick comes to her, and I'm glad she chooses not to shoot him. Finnick has been really good to her and Peeta, and she isn't the type to forget something like that. Katniss decides to shoot her arrow into the force field for who knows what reason, and she uses the energy from a lightning strike to destroy the force field. Hovercraft comes in to pick up Katniss, and she wakes up next to BT. She enters a room with Finnick, Haymitch, and Plutarch talking. Plutarch tells her that the Capitol got Peeta, and she attacks Haymitch, causing her to be tranquilized. She then wakes up in a hospital bed, Gale sitting next to her. Gale tells her that District 12 was bombed into oblivion, and the final shot is just so funny to me. I think Jennifer Lawrence does a great job in these movies, don't get me wrong, but the emotional switch feels like a soggy sock. This movie fails as an adaptation, but as a movie it works perfectly fine, and despite all the problems, I still enjoyed watching it and would definitely recommend it. The cutaways to Plutarch and Snow added to the story a good amount, and even though I have my complaints, I truly think that this secretive Death Note style game of manipulation is amazing. The climax of this movie had me mentally on the edge of my seat, and I'm ready to watch the next two.